Over the past few weeks, I've been getting some wonderful feedback from listeners, and there's a pattern I keep hearing. People are saying, "This is great, but can you take a few steps back? I don't even know where to start." So that is exactly what we're doing. This is the beginning of a mini-series all about getting started with your podcast. No advanced strategies, no growth hacking, just the fundamentals of taking that first step. Welcome to Fearless Podcasting Academy. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Dean. I've always lived in two worlds, one filled with the magic of storytelling and language, and the other wired with technology and innovation. And through the years of research and teaching and hands-on experience, I've been obsessed with one question: what makes a message truly resonate? And that's why I created the Fearless Podcasting Academy, where creators and entrepreneurs and change makers come to ditch self-doubt, amplify their voices, and build podcasts that demand attention. So whether you're launching your first episode or leveling up your platform, you're in the right place. Because when you learn to use your voice with confidence, you don't just start a podcast, you start a movement. This is Fearless Podcasting Academy. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to think about this. What is the real reason you have not started your podcast yet? I'm serious. Pause this episode if you need to and think about it. What is the story that you've been telling yourself? Maybe it's, I don't have the right equipment. Maybe it's, I don't know what my niche is. Maybe it's, there's already so many podcasts out there, and this is one I hear a lot. Who am I to say something when everybody has already said it? Is there anything even left to say? But here is what I've learned after teaching podcasting at the university level, and after hosting my own shows, and after working with a lot of aspiring podcasters. Those are not the real reasons. Those are the safe reasons. The ones that sound logical and sound responsible. But the real reason runs deeper. So many people have something powerful to say. They have stories that could change someone's day, insights that could shift someone's perspective, experiences that could help someone feel less alone, but they stay stuck in overthinking. They believe that the right microphone or the perfect intro music or a crystal clear niche or the best lighting or a content calendar mapped out. You see where I'm going here? How many excuses can you put in there? The only way to discover what you're really meant to say is to start saying something, anything. And if you keep waiting for perfect conditions, someone who desperately needs to hear your message might never get the chance. I remember talking to a woman last year who had been getting ready to start her podcast for 3 years. 3 years. She had spreadsheets of episode ideas and a logo designed and redesigned. She had research on hosting platforms. She knew more about podcasting theory than most people who'd been doing it for years. But she had 0 episodes. Meanwhile, her friends started a show with nothing but her phone and her earbuds. Her audio wasn't perfect. Her episodes were not the same length. She stumbled over her words sometimes. I do that a lot. But within 6 months, she had people reaching out saying her show had saved their sanity during their own family crisis. So which one of these women was actually podcasting? Do you see the context we're missing here? We live in a world where everyone is waiting for permission. Permission to speak up, permission to take space, permission to believe that what they have to say matters. But what you may not realize about starting a podcast is that perfection is the enemy of connection. People don't want polished, they want real. They want to hear from someone who gets it, who's been there, and who talks like a human being instead of a corporate presentation. Most successful podcasters did not start with clarity. They found it by showing up week after week, episode after episode, and they discovered their voice by using it. Mark Maron started WTF because he was angry and needed an outlet. Oprah didn't launch Super Soul because she had a perfect format figured out. She started because she was curious about the big questions. They all figured it out by doing it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I start and I'm terrible at it? Or what if people judge me? What if I realize I have nothing interesting to say? And oh my God, have I been there? Have I been there? But let me tell you something. The real block is not gear, and it's not even knowing what to talk about. The real block there is fear. It's that little voice whispering in your ear, who am I to say this? What if I mess up and sound unprofessional? What if I actually sound like I don't know what I'm talking about? What if people discover I am just making it up as I go along? So here's a confession, a real confession. As a former professor, I have taught podcasting courses. I have hosted multiple shows, and I help teach podcasting for a living. And still, every single week before I hit record, I have that moment where I wonder, what if my story doesn't land this time? What if my audio sounds off? What if my dog starts barking? What if I completely lose my train of thought and just sit here in awkward silence? Imposter syndrome doesn't go away just because you get more experienced. You just learn to move anyway. You move through it. We have been conditioned to believe that anything worth putting out into the world has to be perfect from day one, right? We see the end result of other people's work. We see the polished websites. We see the professional headshots. We see the seamless podcast episodes. And we assume that's how they all started. But that is like looking at a master chef's signature dish and assuming they have never burned anything in the kitchen. Every single person you admire started as a beginner, right? Every single podcast you love to listen to had a rough first episode. Every single confident voice you hear started out shaky and uncertain. The difference between people you admire and the people still sitting on the sidelines is not talent. It's not talent. It's not even preparation. It's the willingness to be imperfect in public. So I want to tell you about something that changed everything for me. A few years ago, I was working with a client who was absolutely paralyzed by perfectionism. She had this incredible story about overcoming addiction and rebuilding her life, but she kept postponing her launch because she didn't think her intro music sounded professional enough. Finally, I said to her, "You have got to burn your first pancake." And she looked at me like I had lost my mind. So a lot of people do that, but I had a point there. When you're making pancakes, you always mess up the first one. The pan's not quite the right temperature. You haven't figured out how much batter to pour. The first pancake is always a little off, right? Sometimes you just have to give it to the puppy dog and keep on going, because every time you flip another pancake, you get closer to that golden, perfect pancake that's ready to be served. And I know some of my OGs that have been here a minute have heard me talk about my pancake metaphor. So her first episode was not perfect. None of them will be. Yours won't be. Mine isn't. None of them are. And her second episode, though, she was a little bit better. By episode 10, she sounded like she had been podcasting for years. But none of that growth would have happened if she had stayed stuck perfecting her intro music. That first pancake serves a purpose. It teaches you how hot your pan is. It teaches you how your batter is going to behave. It gives you information that you can only get by actually doing the damn thing. So your first episode is going to be like your first pancake. It's going to be a little off. And that is not a bug. That's a feature. It's how you learn. Burning your first pancake is actually exciting. There's something thrilling about finally moving from thinking about something to actually doing it. There's a relief that comes from letting go of perfect and embracing real. I remember the first time I hit publish on a podcast. It wasn't this podcast. It was our TNT podcast. And I knew that it was not perfect. And I was working with someone who I adore, but she's also been in the news industry for a very long time. And oh my gosh, the imposter syndrome. My heart was racing. I was sure people would notice my every stumble, my every my every place where I lost my train of thought for half a second. But you know what happened? I got a message from someone saying that was exactly what they needed to hear that day. Not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. And that's when I realized something crucial. We are living in a time, and you know this, of mass AI-generated content. Everything's getting more polished and more filtered and more algorithmic. Social media is full of freaking highlight reels. Websites look all the same. Even the content we consume is starting to feel manufactured with a lot of emojis. But with all that perfection floating around, people are actually craving realness more than ever. That is what's going to differentiate you. They want to hear from someone who sounds like they're talking to a friend, not reading a script. They want to connect with someone who admits they don't have all the answers and who laughs at their own mistakes and who shows up as a human being instead of a brand. The world does not need another perfect podcast. It needs a real one made by someone who cares enough to show up imperfectly. And there's some beautiful irony in this. I want you to think about the thing that makes you unqualified to start a podcast, because that might actually be what makes you qualified. Your uncertainty means that you're still learning, you're still growing, and you're still curious. Your nervousness means that you care about doing right by your audience. Your imperfection means you're relatable. The most powerful voices aren't the ones that have it all figured out. They're the ones brave enough to figure it out in public. You don't need permission to start. You don't need perfect equipment. You don't need a fully formed concept. You just need something to say and the courage to say it. But I also want to be kind of practical here because, we are teaching, we are learning here. I know the advice just start can feel overwhelming when you don't know what starting even looks like. So let me break this down for you in the simplest possible terms. First, you need a way to record. Not the best way, not the most professional way, just a way. The voice memo app on your phone works. If you have earbuds with a microphone, even better. If you have a computer with a built-in mic, it's not the best. I would actually go to your phone. The goal isn't studio quality. It's getting your voice from your head to a file. Now, second, you need something to talk about. This doesn't have to be your life's mission or your unique expertise. It can be something you're curious about, something you're learning, something you've experienced that might be, useful to somebody else. That first episode can literally be, "Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm starting this podcast because I think everyone deserves to have their voice heard. I don't have it all figured out yet, but here's what I'm thinking about." And then third, you need to record something, anything, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if you never plan to publish it. Just the act of hearing your voice played back, and let me tell you, that is hella uncomfortable the first few times, but just the act of hearing your voice played back will teach you something. It will teach you something about what you want to say and about how you want to say it. Your first episode does not have to be your first published episode. You can record 10 practice episodes before you publish one. You can record the same episode in 5 different ways and pick the one that feels like the most you. You can start a podcast, decide you hate it, delete everything, and start over with a completely different concept. But the only way to fail at this is to never begin. So I want to tell you about one more person. His name is David, and he reached out to me last summer. He's been wanting to start a podcast about his experience as a dad raising teens with special needs. He'd been thinking about it for 2 years, but kept getting stuck on what his angle would be. Finally, he just started recording himself talking through his day. What was it like getting his son ready for school? How had he handled meltdowns in the grocery store? The small victories that nobody else understood. He was not trying to be an expert or give advice. He was literally just sharing his reality. He published his first episode with the title, "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway." And within a month, he had parents from around the world reaching out saying they'd never felt less alone. Not because he had all the answers, but because he was honest about not having them. That is the power of just starting. Not starting perfectly, not starting without a plan, literally starting, just starting authentically. Okay, I did promise you at the start of this that I would tell you about something that can help you with this whole figuring it out as you go process. So remember how I mentioned that successful podcasters find their voice by using it? Well, there's actually a structure that can help you do that more effectively. I've created something called the Fearless Podcast Script Builder. It is a wizard that walks you through the exact 3-act storytelling framework that I teach in my Hooked program. I use it for every episode of the show, including this one. And all you have to do is you answer a few simple questions about your topic, and it helps you organize your thoughts into a compelling story that connects with your audience. I promise you, you do not need perfect content, but you do need a way to organize your imperfect thoughts so they make sense to somebody else. The Script Builder gives you that roadmap without the overwhelm. You can find the link in the show notes, and it takes about 10 minutes to complete. Okay, back to what I want you to do. And I am being serious here. Before this episode ends, I want you to make a commitment to yourself. You're here most likely because you want to learn to podcast. So I want you to open the voice app on your phone right now, right this very now. And if you don't want to do it right now, commit to doing it within the next 24 hours, but try to do it right now. Plug in your earbuds, find a quiet spot, and just talk for 5 minutes about something that matters to you. It could be a lesson you learned the hard way. It could be something you wish you had told. It could be something you wish someone had told you when you were younger. It could be a book that changed your perspective or a conversation that stuck with you. Don't worry about having a perfect opening line. Don't worry about whether it's interesting enough. Don't worry about whether your voice sounds weird. Everyone thinks their voice sounds weird at the beginning, I promise you. Just speak your truth. Your voice, your perspective, and your story, even if similar stories have been told before, no one can tell it exactly like you can. You don't need fancy gear, and you don't need a perfect concept. You just need to do it. Just do it. Nike had that right. Because someone out there, someone is waiting to hear exactly what you have to say, but exactly the way that you say it. They are waiting for your first pancake, burned edges and all. Remember, the best time to start your podcast was yesterday, but the second best time is right now. So if this episode helped you think differently about starting your podcast, I would love to hear from you. Send me a voicemail message, or you can write me a review, or just hit reply on our email list. Your feedback helps me know what's actually useful and what's just noise. So here's what we're tackling next time. So you've decided to start. Maybe you've even recorded that first 5-minute voice memo I challenged you to make today. But now you're staring at your phone thinking, okay, but what do I actually talk about? How do I choose my first real podcast topic without the pressure of having the entire content strategy figured out? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into next week. What should I even talk about? We'll unpack how to find your first episode topic, how to know if an idea is worth exploring, and how to turn your random thoughts into something else worth listening to. So until then, remember, done is better than perfect. Your voice does matter, and someone out there needs to hear what you have to say. This has been Fearless Podcasting Academy. I'm Dr. Stephanie Dean, and I will talk to you next week.